So is this a new iPhone moment, where everything will change thanks to this new device? Who is this for, and will people really spend $3,500 to get it? This is what everybody's asking, but these are also completely the wrong questions. It's been 13 years since Apple unveiled a completely new category of product that is not an iPhone accessory. In 2010 it was Steve Jobs bringing us the iPad. Then today, it's Tim Cook with a speech that seems to be written by ChatGPT.
It's already been a big day.
Introducing us to this, a $3,500 augmented reality headset. But behind all the hype and these kids who will have a memory of their father hanging out at their birthday party with a headset, there is actually something bigger. A master plan that Apple is hiding in plain sight. And this Vision Pro is just the first piece of the puzzle. There are three things that Apple has done here that are counterintuitive but also very intentional. And funnily enough, the astronomical price is the very first one.
Show me the money!
It almost looks like Tim Cook was playing a pay-to-win video game and maxing out all the stats. Cameras? Alright, give me 12. Microphones? Yeah, let's throw in 6 of them. Oh, everybody else is using controllers, right? Yeah. Let's hire a team of neurotechnology researchers, hire them for 10 years, and make them work on this fancy eye tracking that predicts where you're gonna look at next using AI. Our designers are worried that people are gonna look isolated. Well, let's throw in an external screen with your eyes on it. And don't worry, we'll come back to this one. Everybody's using plastic? Let's make the whole thing out of a single block of aluminum and the front out of this single 3D pane of glass that's incredibly expensive. But wait a second, this goes against every product development rule, because all products have to make trade-offs to make things somehow affordable. Because yeah, you could make iPhones out of diamond to make them more resistant, but that wouldn't be very economical. But as it turns out, this is very intentional, and it's all part of a very carefully laid out plan. Nobody would possibly buy something that costs multiple times the price of your competition and allows you to do less things than a regular computer, right? Well, not really, because this is exactly what happened with the most successful product in history, the iPhone. At launch, the iPhone was $599, more than double the price of all the other smartphones it was competing with, and it could do less than what they were capable of. And still, people lined up for days just to get their hands on one. And so this is it. This is a new iPhone moment with the Vision Pro. Well, no, I don't think this is another iPhone moment, but it's very similar to something else. Something that was also presented by a guy named Steve Jobs, just not in 2007, but in 1983, the Apple Lisa. The Apple Lisa was a revolutionary computer. It was the first commercial machine that was using a graphical user interface instead of a command line. It presented to the world a new way of interacting with technology that's still what we use today. That's what you're using to watch this video and to subscribe to my channel. But there was a problem. The Apple Lisa cost $10,000 in 1983, and it failed miserably. But the ideas that were in this, that's what matter. And Apple seems to have learned a thing or two, because they did it again, just this time on purpose. Because they expect to sell 1 million headsets, which seems like a lot, but even at $3,500, that's less than 1% of Apple's total revenue. They probably make more money selling their $20 polishing cloth. And so the reality is that they don't really care how much it sells. They build this to set a vision for the future, just like the Lisa did 40 years prior. And if it's not clear enough yet, that's actually in the name itself. And so, vision.
A vision!
For most companies, sharing their vision means putting some meaningless statements in a page on their website. Just like BP, the oil company, which on their website has as its vision to help the world reach net zero carbon and improve people's lives. Other companies take it a step further and they visualize what their future will look like. This is what Meta did, with their long presentation, all the renders, only to get to... But Apple has decided to do things differently. To share their vision, they decided to build an insanely good and insanely expensive real product. Especially in tech, the vision behind the company, what they wish to achieve with technology, matters probably more than in any other industry, especially at the beginning. where companies scramble to put together prototypes, then fail, then try again, and most of the time losing money at the start by having a vision telling them where to go. It's Jeff Bezos having a vision in the 90s for e-commerce where it just didn't exist yet. But tech is a very unpredictable world. You need to be always on top of what's happening, and downturns like the one we are in now are always around the corner. So if you want to invest, this volatility makes it much harder. But thanks to Masterworks, the sponsor of this video, when it comes to investments, there is an alternative that you might not have considered. An alternative that has to do with vision, because it's actually something you look at: fine art. Masterworks makes paintings investable, and you get a proportional net payout when one you're invested in sells. To date, Masterworks has sold over $45 million worth of art, and every one of Masterworks' sales has returned a profit to investors from 10% to 35%. With over 50,000 active investors, Masterworks' offering can sell out in minutes, but you get special access with the link below. And now let's get back to Apple, because there's a reason they absolutely needed to share their vision with the world. The history of augmented reality has been very bumpy, to say the least. We all have some idea of augmented reality from science fiction, and of course the most important one of all, Dragon Ball.
It's over 9,000!
But other than that, there's no clear vision to look forward to for augmented reality. The closest we came to it was 10 years ago, when Google Glass took over the world only to crash and burn and become a commercial failure. And even though I absolutely loved Google Glass as a product, the next year's augmented reality became just placing IKEA couches in your living room looking through an iPad, or everybody chasing Pokemon on the sidewalks for a brief time. While VR got its place in gaming and with Zuck's metaverse, regardless of how it turns out, augmented reality doesn't have anything. A compelling vision, a wow factor, something to be excited about. Until a company comes along with a very expensive but very cool device that gets everybody excited about the future. Sounds familiar? And yet, something seems off. Every single year in the past, Apple has shared some demo of their AR kit platform where people were playing these tabletop games through their iPad, and together it looks so fun. And yet when they announced their real augmented reality product, it's you alone in your living room playing with computer apps. What Apple calls spatial computing. Something just doesn't add up. Because spatial computing, this thing that Apple unveiled, is not the final vision, it's the first piece, and the end goal is true augmented reality. The Vision Pro uses pass-through augmented reality, meaning that there's a set of cameras that records the environment and then displays it with added stuff on top to you through screens in front of your eyes. But the holy grail, what Apple is truly aiming for, is true augmented reality. Transparent screens that can still project 3D content that is mapped to your surroundings, but where you can actually have a normal life while wearing them and not look like this. Where you can interact with other people wearing glasses and share the digital world you're seeing with them. An insider report shows that Apple designers actually wanted to wait until a good enough version of true AR glasses was ready. But Tim Cook wanted to get the Vision Pro out the door first, to set the first piece of the vision for augmented reality. We started with computers, and then the iPhone came along and revolutionized everything with smartphones and mobile. And then, in 2010, Steve Jobs went on stage and said this.
Is there room for a third category of device in the middle?
Well, the Vision Pro is exactly the same story again, just turned on its head. We started with computers again, but unlike the iPhone where we jumped to the new revolutionary thing, our current technology is not good enough to make the jump to true AR. So Apple launched something in the middle, kind of an iPad equivalent for the augmented reality world, with less functionality than a computer, but starting to incorporate those revolutionary elements. And only in a few years they will take the leap and get to true augmented reality, what we are all waiting for. And that will be the new iPhone moment. But wait a second, Apple has hundreds of billions of dollars at their disposal and they spent 7 years on this. Why is true augmented reality not here yet? Because as it turns out, true augmented reality is incredibly more difficult to build, and there are 3 key ingredients to make true AR work. And the first one is the main reason why Google Glass failed. The hardware was too intrusive. This is what Google Glass looked like. Sure, it's relatively compact, but it's by no means normal seeing somebody outside on the street wearing that. People wearing the device at the time were nicknamed glassholes, and they were quickly dismissed as weirdos. Our face is the most important physical characteristic that we have. And there are deeply rooted psychological reasons why we don't want to mess with it. That's why for most people, having a weird tech gadget on your face, even though it's useful, is just not an option. Even regular glasses were seen a couple decades ago just as a medical device, and only recently they've been considered more of a fashion statement. But that took a long time. Most likely the first generation of true AR glasses will connect to your smartphone, and that's where all the computation will happen. And the main tech that is missing is good enough transparent displays. Then come the privacy implications. Google Glass was seen as creepy because it had this camera sitting on your face that was too off-putting for people, even though it maybe wasn't recording anything at the moment. And this is another piece that designers and engineers will need to solve, because yes, you can still use LiDAR to map the 3D space, but you'll most likely still need cameras for the second ingredient of true augmented reality, a virtual positioning system. Google Glass showed you just this, a bunch of information on the corner of your view. But true augmented reality means, well, augmenting reality. Placing digital objects and information over the real world, tracked to the real world. And unlike the Vision Pro, which is designed to be used in a living room, true augmented reality is meant to be mobile, so you need to be able to do this everywhere around the world. A virtual positioning system, or a VPS, is basically a 3D map of the whole world, where you can use the cameras and sensors on the device to locate with incredible precision where you are in the world. Place items over the real world and allowing somebody that is next to you to see the same thing in the same location. And a first version of this actually already exists, because both Google Maps and Apple Maps have released the geospatial API that allows you to do this just with your phone instead of glasses. And the third ingredient to make true augmented reality work is actually the only one that Apple has already achieved with the Vision Pro, and that is the control system and interface. Any new category of products requires a way to interact with them. For computers, it was graphical user interfaces. For the first iPhone, it was multi-touch.
I just take my finger and I scroll.
And with the Reality Pro, Apple wanted to validate that they can build a control system that just works like magic. Unfortunately, I haven't tried it. Apple, I'm looking at you. Next time, you know what to do. But every single person that did was amazed at how well the eye tracking and pinching with your hand works on the Vision Pro.
You grab it, you move it. You can move it in the X or Y space, the Z space, and it works so well.
The eye tracking in this headset, as it looks at your eyes and keeps track of where your eyes move around, is the closest thing that I've experienced to like magic.
True augmented reality is the technology that gets me most excited over everything else. And while we wait for it, if you like this video, you can subscribe to my channel, and here's another video that you might enjoy.